This was the shocking case of Ryan Waller. A night that began quietly in Phoenix, Arizona, and ended in confusion, audit tragedy, and unanswered questions. Earlier that night, Phoenix moved on as usual. Inside a small apartment, Ryan Waller and his girlfriend, Heather Kwan, were doing something ordinary, watching a movie, sharing popcorn, and settling in for what seemed like a quiet evening. Nothing about the night suggested what was about to follow.
"911, what's your emergency?"
There's been a disturbance at an apartment complex. We heard loud noises and then gunshots.
When police arrived, they found Heather Kwan, unfortunately deceased. Ryan Waller was present, disoriented and in bad shape. The circumstances were unclear, and investigators had little to go on. Questions immediately arose. Had something gone wrong between Ryan and Heather? At this point, no one could know. What exactly had unfolded in the apartment that night? Given the scene and Ryan's injuries, it wasn't looking good for him. After police arrived at the apartment, Ryan was taken in for questioning shortly. Officers began asking routine but critical questions. Who had been there? What had happened? And how the night had unfolded. But almost immediately, they noticed something wasn't right. Ryan appeared disoriented. His answers were fragmented, sometimes unrelated, and often didn't seem to match the severity of the situation.
What?
I got shot in the eye.
You got shot in the eye
I think so.
with a revolver.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Hours passed. Ryan remained the only person alive from the apartment. Heather was dead, and investigators still didn't have a clear account of what had happened. Throughout it all, Ryan appeared increasingly agitated and exhausted.
Man, I just want to go to sleep.
That will happen sooner or later.
Officers began to notice something else. It wasn't just his speech that was odd. His physical injuries were more serious than they first realized. Eventually, officers began to notice that Ryan's physical injuries were more serious than they first realized. A medically trained officer examined him more closely and confirmed what Ryan had been trying to say. He had indeed been shot in the eye. At the hospital, doctors found that the bullet had entered through the left side of his face and tracked into his brain. Bone fragments and a splinter of the projectile lodged behind his left eye caused significant brain swelling and trauma. Additional damage came from bone fragments inside his brain, and he also suffered a broken jaw sustained in the arrest. Because medical attention had been delayed, an infection developed that postponed surgery to remove the bullet. So here's what really happened that night. Investigators eventually discovered that the attack on Ryan and Heather was not random. Two men, Richie Lee Carver and his father, Larry Lloyd Carver, were responsible. Richie had once lived in the same house Ryan later rented, and there had been tension between them before the incident. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, Richie was reported to have been seen around the property, and some believe he was motivated by a desire to take items Ryan owned, such as electronics and guitars, or by resentment over their conflicts. On December 23, 2006, Richie and his father went to Ryan and Heather's apartment. Richie forced his way inside and shot Ryan twice in the head, believing he would kill him. They then went into the living room and fatally shot Heather because she was a witness to the assault. After the shootings, the Carvers took belongings and left, convinced they had killed both victims. Richie Carver was later arrested, convicted of felony murder, burglary, aggravated assault, and misconduct involving weapons, and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole in June 2008. Larry Carver was initially released when his wife invoked marital privilege, but due to pressure from Heather's family and changes in Arizona law, he was re-indicted, convicted of first-degree murder and related charges, and also sentenced to life in prison in 2013. Ryan Waller fought for his life for years after that night. Though he survived the initial attack, he never fully recovered. He struggled with the long-term effects of his injuries, including seizures and neurological damage. On January 20th, 2016, nearly a decade after the shooting, Ryan passed away due to a seizure caused by those injuries. A tragic end to a life forever altered by violence.